Hello everybody, this is Borna Kazerani from Melbourne, Australia. I hope you're doing fine and looking after yourself and stay being patient. Tonight I'm going to have a conversation with Alexandra Slava, who is a Ukrainian artist who was born in 1996 in Kiev. When she turned 12, art was already playing a major role in her life. Alexandra made one of the most important decisions for her life to turn skill into the lifelong pursuit. She began her formal training at Shevchenko State Art School in Kiev. Years later, she moved to Italy and enrolled in the full-time sculpture program at the University of Florence Academy of Art. In 2017, she successfully completed her studies at the Florence Academy of Art. And in the same year, she awarded the prize of Sculpture of the Year, and she had chosen a name for her sculpture, which is called The Fall of Sparrow. Over the years, her work has been recognized by several international organizations, including the Alpine Fellowship, Aesthetica Magazine, Society of Portrait Sculptors, Ostrale Biennale, and the European Museum of Modern Art in Barcelona, Spain. Her sculpture may be found in private collections throughout Europe, US, and South America. Since graduating from the Academy, she has been running an independent artistic practice place, first in Florence, later in Warsaw, Poland, and currently an artist in residence program in Berlin, Germany. Lately, more of her efforts are directed towards teaching activity. Thank you very much, and I'm going to invite her to join me for a conversation. And if you want to find out more about Alexandra, you can go to her page and find out actually who I'm having a conversation with. Thank you. Hello! How are you doing?
Pretty well, thank you. How are you?
That's a very good question. It's such a crazy time for all of us. Could you please put your camera, your phone a little bit up that I can see you? Yes, perfect. Yeah, perfect.
That's a bit of a technical problem.
That's all right. Yeah, it's perfect now. Yeah. Okay, great. So I've got lots of questions for you. First of all, thank you very much for your time, and I love your voice, and well done, and perfect. So before I'm gonna start, do you want to say hi to those who are watching us right now?
Hello, everyone.
So Alexandra, I know you were studying the art school. You had to study and learn extensive of human form. With trying a reliance of the works from antiquity and the old masters. Tell me about that a little bit, please.
Yeah, so I started my formal training in art back in Kiev in Ukraine when I was old, and I enrolled in the State Art School, which had several departments, including painting, sculpture, architecture, decorative arts, and right away I knew that sculpture was my passion.
I will ask you about that later on. I will get that point. I want to know that you had to learn about human form. Am I right?
That's right, that's right. Since the very beginning, I've been interested in classical art because nowadays, in a lot of art schools all over Europe and America, the focus is on contemporary art and more art. And since the very beginning, I really wanted to focus on something else. And I've been lucky to grow up in Ukraine, actually, for that matter, because Ukraine, as a post-Soviet country, kept the tradition of academic art, unlike many European countries, because, in Soviet Union, there was Soviet realism, which was the official art form. And in Ukraine, there was still pretty good art school for that. And yeah, since 12 years old, I was going through a standard classical art program, copying works of the masters from the antiquity, learning artistic anatomy, like being very serious. And since then, I already knew that I am absolutely in love with human body, with its expressive potential, and that I could use the body, the human form, as the vehicle for me to express everything that is of a real importance to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I was very curious because the majority of your art, like or most of them actually, it's you've been really focusing to create like the shape of different like types of human bodies, and I love them, and I love them. So I know in 2016 you were selected to collaborate with the director of the painting program at the Florence Academy of
That's
Art, Ramiro Sanchez, am I right? It's fine for us. To create the model of the large marble statue for the interior design of San Betty Catholic Church in Virginia, in America.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And tell me about how did it happen and why did they what do you think why they selected you?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I was still a student. I was in my second year at the Florence Academy. I was 18 or yeah, 19 years old, very young. And Ramiro Sanchez, the director of the painting program, is a real master. His work is just amazing. And yeah, it was a great inspiration. And it just so happened that he was a good friend of the director of the sculpture program, who was my professor
Okay.
at the Academy, Robert Bottom. And I believe even Ramiro first offered this collaboration to Robert himself. And then Robert was busy or, I don't know, not up to this particular project.
Right.
And then Ramiro asked to recommend one of his probably talented, capable students. And
Yes.
a huge honor that Robert pointed at me. And the project was very interesting. It's a religious project. It was a project for a statue in a church in Williamsburg, Virginia. It's something I've never done before, never considered at that point. The deadline was really tough,
Really?
and yet I just had no kind of choice. I couldn't say no. It was way too interesting to collaborate with this amazing painter, use his designs of the statue to make a maquette of a sculpture of about 80 centimeters, which was the
80.
80 centimeters. Yeah, so it wasn't, no, it wasn't large. It was like half life size, basically.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but then this maquette, which I made, was taken to Pietrasanta in Italy, which is kind of a center of marble carving. And there, the professional marble carvers scanned my maquette, manipulated it in a computer program, and then carved it out of a large block of marble over 2 meters tall. And
Wow.
yeah, finished
It's
it.
massive.
Yes, and all of that was done in Italy, and then the sculpture was shipped to America and installed in that church in Williamsburg. I'm really hoping to go see that sculpture one day. I've never been to Virginia, so
They just transferred it then.
yeah, we basically shipped it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. I saw some of the pictures actually on your page, on your Instagram. For someone in your age, okay, and who is extremely um For someone in your age, like you're extremely professional and lots of you had like lots of solo and group exhibition. Well, it's quite impressive. Like I was like being honest with you. Well, when I lost counting, like there was so many, and I was like, oh my god, she's not even that old. So, but she's practiced in lots of different solo and group exhibition. And I was reading your biography. And how many solo and group exhibition have you had so far?
Yeah, that's gonna be hard to count. The one thing I should mention is that I haven't really had any one artist solo exhibitions yet. That's something that was actually planned for the end of the May in Dresden, Germany, in a gallery. But unfortunately, because of the situation, it will most likely it will be cancelled. But in terms of group exhibitions, it's been really a lot, and I've been always quite active, applying to different competitions and opportunities, and that's how my works have already been pretty much all over the world, in Miami Context Art Exhibition, in Barcelona Museum of European Art, London, here in Germany, obviously, in Italy, a few exhibitions. So it's just about being active, making a research, and applying, knocking on as many doors as you can. If there are any artists out there watching, this is the advice I could give.
Well, well done. I was going to put it on your biography. You know, what I was going to read it is so many. And I can't like just, it takes like 15 minutes to mention each one of their names, and there are a lot. I thought I would like to ask you whilst we are live. So, and how many times you've been awarded the prize for your work?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, how many times you've awarded the prize for your works?
Yeah, it's been a few times. Even when I was still a student, I received several scholarships, which partially covered tuition fees at the Florence Academy. And that I got from the Academy itself and from the organization called Art Renewal Center, which is supporting traditional contemporary artists. That was a really helpful thing at that point.
Wow.
And I graduated and right away was awarded the Prize of Sculpture of the Year Academy. Yeah, and as I said, since then I've just been applying to different awards, different grants, and that's a very important part of being a young aspiring artist.
Of course. And you also won, as I mentioned whilst I was reading your biography, I mean, when I was reading biography, you were quite started becoming recognized through one of your statues, The Fall of Sparrow. That one was the first serious project, or no? You have been working before, or you know, or that one that was like beginning of your success or being recognized.
Yeah, I would say that was a very important sculpture for me. It was the first larger scale piece. It was a 3/4 life-size reclining figure. And basically it was just an academic project. So I was working in a group with a few other artists. We had a model. But I think what made my sculpture probably stand out, I always try to interpret the the project in my personal way. So a lot of academic artists, they just hire models and they select interesting poses and then they focus on the form and try to show their craft.
Yeah.
I really admire that. That's something that attracted me to a school like Florence Academy of Art in the first place, but it just has never been enough for me. Just pure craft hasn't been really enough. I wanted to learn those skills in order to express something else, something that's on my mind, in my heart, some feelings.
That's what exactly I was going to ask you, because this question actually is very relevant to what you're going to say, because I want to know more about your personality. Okay, like, does the intentional, like, initial idea already from does the initial idea already form in your mind before you want to make a sculpture, and you know what exactly you want to do or not? Or does it usually happen like whilst you're working on a statue? Do you know about the final result or not? Not really.
Mm-hmm. It's actually never one or the other. I would say
Tell
I
me.
usually do have some idea of what I want to do, but usually the way it works is that I've got a visual image in my head, and I start twisting it in my head, like in 3D, trying to understand what this is. And sometimes it's confusing me. I don't understand what my own mind is coming up with. And then I become very curious and I make a little maquette. Usually that's how a sculpture starts, to try to
Right.
figure out what the hell is on my mind. And the whole process of creating a work is not like having an idea and making just that. It's about exploring and understanding myself of why this or that idea came to my mind. Um, but sometimes, of course, I've got some event in my life, feeling, and the process is reversed. So I've got the pure feeling, and then I sit down to try and find the visual form to put this feeling in, something
Mhm.
really express. So it really depends.
So it's happening, but what I'm understanding from what you're saying is like it usually happens whilst you're still working on the project, like
Yeah.
like day to day, and then you twist it and you're just saying, okay, so it's better doing this now rather than just doing that. That's happened whilst you're working on a sculpture. Okay, that's very interesting. And because some artists like are the like they've got an idea and they're stick with that, rather just like let their creativities lead them whilst they're working on the projects.
Yeah.
Okay, and yeah, and when was the first time you realized that you want to become a sculptor?
Mm. Um, I think I've always had a particular affection to three-dimensional objects. And since a very young age, I've been determined to find my calling, and I've been very disciplined and serious about every activity I was doing. Since I was 4, I was dancing ballet, I was playing cello, I was later having really serious ambitions in sport. I was playing tennis. But alongside all of these activities, I've always been doing some art or crafty things. And I would say the first thing, my biggest passion from early on was making little figures from papier mâché, which is a technique of wet clay, wet paper, which you turn into some clay and then it's drying out. And I've been doing this for really years, since maybe I was 5 or 6 years old. And
Wow.
later on, I've really enjoyed making origami, the Japanese art of folding paper. And I think that taught me, again, the discipline and precision, which later was very useful in my academic education in art. But the real decision was made when I was 12 years old. And at that time, I was still playing tennis and being quite serious about it. But there was a moment when I realized that sport is not exactly my thing, because I don't want my body, my physical me to be like active and do something in this world. I want to create something, some objects which will then hopefully live in the time and will inhabit people's places and make people happy. There's also this feeling of creating something that exists in the same dimension as you, like sculptures that are permanent. They're strong. Nothing can destroy them. Although later found out that sculptures are also quite fragile, and that's a big thing of any sculptor. But still, this physicality of sculpting really attracted me. So yeah, when I was 12 years old, I talked to my parents that this is something I want to do, and my father was shocked.
Why?
I could, because my father is a businessman. He's a very logical guy, and my idea sounded unrealistic. Like, do you make a living out of it? How, like, lots of hows. And my was the one who supported me at that point. Right
Your
now,
mom, your mother.
And yeah, she took me to the state art school in Kiev, which is like an art college in a way, because you still, as a kid, have all subjects like normal kids, mathematics, geography, blah, blah, but the main focus is on art. So we had art classes a lot of days of the week. And yeah, I enrolled in that school, and I'm happy to say that right now, even my father really supports me and believes that this is serious.
You should.
Yeah.
You're an amazing artist. No, you should be so proud of you. I will give a big hug from me to your mom. And it's very, very deep because she's been quite supportive. No, I want to, you know what I want to do, what we want to do. I want to ask you a favor. And I'm sure everyone's gonna really, really enjoy. Just give us, please, a small tour, or what doesn't matter is small as long as it doesn't matter really, and you direct it. So there is an option. You can reverse the camera and do whatever you like, and we're gonna watch it. Please.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you.
Before I begin, I must say that my studio is really tiny right now.
That's
But
okay.
I am right now in Frankfurt, Germany. Before, I had a studio in Berlin, and before that I had a studio in Warsaw, which was really big and nice. But still, I find my current studio quite cozy, and I can just show you what I'm working on these days. By the way, I love having mirrors in my studio. So you'll see my reflection a lot. So
That's right.
this is,
but don't move too quickly. If you can go like directed, if you go towards the yes, something like that. Even make it closer, and then you talk what you're doing.
Yeah. So right now I'm working on a really small project. This is the little maquette which I made. As I told you, every work begins with this small scale sketch. And I don't know why, again, I had this visual picture in my head of a bull with the body of a man holding a young woman in this crazy way. And I really wanted to just figure out why the hell my mind painted this picture. So I made this little maquette. This was like just 1 hour study, and then I am starting the full-scale thing, which is still quite small. Over the past few months, I've been working on much larger sculptures, and I got really tired of big scale because it takes months to work on something larger. So this one, as you can see, is still pretty small. I feel a bit uncomfortable showing my work in progress because it's still very rough. It's been literally like 2 days of working on this. So anyway, this one is made out of plastilina, which is oil-based clay. And this is quite unusual for me. I much prefer working with water-based clay, which is organic, traditional material for modeling. But when you're working on something that small, water-based clay tends to dry out and crack. All of these thin parts would really crack and fall apart very quickly. So I'm making this one in plastiline. Also, here is
Oh
a
my
larger
God, this is
piece.
beautiful.
Yeah, this one is probably one of my major sculptures, which I made a few years ago. It's called My Shelter, and yeah, it's a double portrait with a very personal meaning. This is basically a self-portrait and a portrait of my mother. And I sculpted this one at the beginning of my third year at the Florence Academy when I was feeling really anxious about starting life as a grown-up, and I was really missing my mom, and I just wanted to sculpt us together so that we really stay together forever like that. And
Wow, it makes really sense. And is that you?
yes, this is a self-portrait.
Can you not moving your camera? I want to see it.
Yeah,
Thank you. Amazing.
thank you. Yeah, so this one, the sculpture I have prepared for a little exhibition here in Frankfurt. And actually, I was supposed to take it to that exhibition space today, but since we are having this interview, I decided to leave it for one more day and show to your followers.
Wow.
Yeah, basically. This is one of the major older works.
That's
And
beautiful.
in terms of materials,
Okay, now can you put it? Okay, I want to see from this part.
yeah. About the materials, this sculpture is made out of resin. So I can talk a little bit about how I make my work. At first, I sculpt my work in clay, and then I make molds of them, of my sculptures, in silicone and plaster. And a mold is basically a negative, like negative imprint of the form. And then when I've got that negative, I can cast several copies of the same sculpture. So for example, this is copy 3 out of 8, and I don't make more than 8 copies of a piece because otherwise it's not exclusive anymore.
Of course.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, so I can cast sculptures in different materials, including resin, which is this one, and bronze. These are two of my main materials. And I really like combining all of my sculptures with some marble bases.
Yeah.
This marble I bought in Italy. Italy is just an amazing place for beautiful marble. Of course, it has some of the best choice in the world. And a lot of sculptors nowadays think that mounting your sculptures on marble
Now
is,
you can move.
yeah, is a bit old-fashioned, but I don't know, I just love the combination of bronze or resin and marble. So, yeah.
Perfect.
Now I can show you another little piece,
Wow.
which I finished just a few weeks ago. This is again sculpted in oil-based clay, plastilina. And this one is called Navona. And those of you who have been to Rome will recognize the name of Piazza Navona, which is one of the main squares in Rome. And the title, again, is quite personal to me. The obvious title would, of course, be Batwoman, because that's what it is. But yeah, it's maybe a bit more complicated for me than that.
Can you go closer? I want to see the face and like the lines. Wow. Wow. Look at the shadow. It's amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
Wow.
And don't be confused by different colors. This is just two different types of plastilina that I used.
Mm-hmm.
This sculpture, I still haven't made a mold of it. So this is still the original.
Just one copy. That's the one that you're just showing us.
Exactly. This is just the first original.
Wow.
So
It's amazing. Wow.
thank you. That was that. Here I've got little cuties. These were just clay fragments of one of my latest sculptures, Children of Agape. I don't have the full sculpture here because after you make a mold, you destroy the original, actually.
Ah.
Yeah, so when you finish the original sculpture, you cover it with silicone. Then you cover silicone with like a stronger material like plaster or resin, which then creates like a negative imprint of it. I can even show, I've got one mold here in my studio if somebody's interested.
That's very interesting. Can you show it, please?
Yeah, sure. Basically, this is one of the molds. So this is how it looks, just some strange thing, but when I open it and show you, this is actually the negative imprint of a sculpture. It was just a little male torso that I made. And then when you've got the positive, you make this silicone. This is just, you see, flexible silicone.
And the base is like a plaster.
And this is called mother mold. Yes, it's like a rigid, strong form because silicone itself is flexible and you need that. And after you finish the original, you put first the silicone, then you divide the sculpture in two halves, like one half, and there'll be one from the back, for example, for this one. Yes, exactly, like a sandwich. It needs to close. And then once you finish the mold, you can then pour the material inside, and then it creates a positive. It recreates the same sculpture again. I know it sounds a bit complicated at first, but basically the original, which I sculpted at first, like this, will probably be damaged because I will create this a negative shape out of it, and the positive won't be needed anymore because then I can cast the sculpture multiple times in different materials, and yeah.
Wow. Wow.
This is what makes the job.
What is that big one?
The big one, this is a covered remains of this sculpture, Children of Agape. I am not gonna uncover it because it
No,
looks.
no, no, no. I don't want the things that actually surprised me because when I was looking at your pictures, like your works, like the images of your works, I was wondering that why you're just working on smaller, much smaller pieces right now because usually you're working with big things.
That's right. Yeah, I got really tired of it. As I said, as I demonstrated to you with the mold process, the job of a sculptor is very difficult. It's very heavy. I've spent, I think, over 5 months working on my latest sculpture, Children of Agape, and then I made a mold of it. Everything was so heavy, so difficult that I really decided to give myself a little break from like larger pieces and work on something smaller. Like the size of Navona is something that I enjoy very much working with right now.
You're right.
It's more manageable and more delicate.
In particular, where you're living right now, probably.
That's right. And these, I haven't finished. These are actually the fragments of the sculpture in clay, Children of Agape, that I finished. And I sliced them from the original after I made the mold. And I hollowed them out. You see they're hollow.
Yeah.
And now they are drying. And later on, I will fire them in a kiln to make terracotta, basically fired clay. This will be a little funny pot. I'm thinking to put a little flower in it or something. I don't know. Yeah. And here I could show these two guys.
Wow.
This is a hand fragment. Both
That's
of
the hand.
That's right. Yes. That's
Wow. Wow, look at the wings.
Yeah. And both of these are in bronze. And bronze is, of course, the most premium material a sculptor can work with. I mean, a sculptor who is modeling.
Can you go closer? Sorry, can you go closer to that one? Yes. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I really love combining bronze with marble or granite, for example, like these. Yeah. And as you can see, I also really like playing with different patinas. So the original color of bronze is something like that, but a bit even shinier. And after the bronze is finished, you apply chemicals on the metal surface to create different colors.
Okay.
And you can achieve red, green, brown, and I really like playing with that. And then combining these colors of bronze with different marble or granite bases. As you can see, I've got a few tiny marble and granite bases here. This is really my hobby to study the different types, and like this is just so beautiful, all of these little veins, different colors. Yeah.
I like your textures.
Yeah, and the textures. This is something that I've used here, like mounting this one on the textured base. Yeah, this one is called Crooked Branch. It's quite small. And I found this piece of a tree, and originally this was a real wooden part, and it reminded me of something and inspired me for this crazy little figure. And then, yeah, then I cast it in bronze.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look extremely realistic, real.
Thank you. Yeah. And then maybe I could show a few of my pictures here. This is my catalog. This is, okay, this is maybe better.
Wow.
And if you maybe recognize this hand,
Is that one?
it's a fragment of this one, yes. There is a sculpture, like the entire sculpture. It's
Wow.
now in, one copy is in Denmark in a gallery. Another copy was supposed to be in Biennale in Rijeka, but I don't know if the Biennale will take place, unfortunately.
Okay.
This is, by the way, me working on
Hey, you!
on that sculpture on my shelter.
Wow.
This was a really emotional.
Oh my God! Look at that. Is that somebody sitting? Am I right?
Yes, it's a little guy sitting on the shoulder of
I
this.
can't hear you.
What about
No.
now?
No,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, maybe it was covering the microphone. Yeah, it's a little guy sitting on the shoulder of this monster-looking
Wow.
figure. It's called saudade, which is a Portuguese word for, you can't really translate it, but it means nostalgia for someone or something you can't have anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, it
It's
was.
very powerful. It's very meaningful.
Thank you.
Well done.
And this is called the Coronation. There is one bronze copy which will also be part of this exhibition in Frankfurt that I'm preparing
Wow.
right now.
This is amazing piece.
Yeah, this was the last sculpture I made in Florence before I left Italy in 2018. Yeah, this was the first self-portrait I ever made. Very
Wow.
painfully looking, but this one you already saw.
Can you
Yeah,
go closer to that one? I want to have yeah,
yeah,
a little bit back. I want to have both of you in the, yeah.
yeah. So basically it's a bit shiny, but
Great.
yeah, what else do I have here? This was my final project at the Florence Academy, Ellipsis. It was life-size figure of about, I don't know, 1 meter 70 centimeters, really tall.
Huge.
Yeah, this,
It's as tall as your height.
it's taller for sure. Yeah. This one is
Oh,
called Metanoia, and
perfect.
I made this one in Poland, the 1 year that I've spent there. This is actually, this one is The Fall of a Sparrow, the one which won the
Wow.
Sculpture of the Year in 2017. Yeah. So this is the one that we were talking about. And here are just some academic studies. This one was female torso and the male torso studies. I call them yin and yang. Yeah. What else do we have there?
And they're all these pictures are on your Instagram, am I right?
That's right, yes. So,
Because I
well,
can recognize some of their some images that you're showing us now.
yeah, maybe I posted some of them like
Perfect.
earlier. Yeah, I think that should be it. Yeah, and these are just that hand edition, which I showed earlier.
Darling, people keep sending me messages. I don't want to miss some of those questions. I love to keep just watching what you're doing, but I want to answer some of. Thank you so very much. That was amazing tour. I really enjoyed.
Thank
Hopefully one day I come to see you somewhere somehow. Let me go through. There are more than 85 questions, and
oh,
I can't go through. Which brand of plastering does she use?
okay, that's a very professional question. I'm using Chavant plastiline, which is probably the most famous brand. There was another type which I found in Italy. Um, I forget, it was called plastic, something like that. I liked its texture even better than Chavant because it reminded me more of water-based clay. But basically, if you are looking for something, then Chavant is probably the best brand.
Okay, this is my question also. Sorry, this is very small and I'm blind, so I'm just trying to read it. Uh, One more. Has she faced any, it's the same person, I think, any financial difficulty achieving her artistic goal, which most artists do?
Yeah.
Of course, all of us.
Uh, That's, during interviews, they recommend to um, create the image of absolute success and prosperity. But of course, I'll open a bit the truth that, of course, financially being an artist is not the easiest path. It's a bit of a roller coaster. And my very first year after I graduated, the academy was very successful. I had a lot of projects. I was working for almost a month in France for another artist as an assistant. I sold a few large sculptures, and I was very inspired by that success. And then there are moments that are less successful when I have a lot of doubts. And it's been very important for me to have the support of my family as well, also financial, but most of all, um, the moral support. So they tell me that it's all worth it. So, yeah, of course, like anyone.
Means you have to live poor until you become famous. That's a very relevant to my question, actually. What do you suggest for people who are not in a good financial position, but are extremely interested in starting to study sculpture? What's the first step they need to know?
Yeah. Well, I think that those who are really extremely interested, like I used to be almost and still am obsessed with sculpting and
Of course, yes.
composition, and you're constantly making a research. I think you're gonna find the answers because those who want something, they will get it. I think I believe in it in whatever situation you are. I must say that my family wasn't that crazy wealthy either, but they still found the opportunity to help me out with the first year at school, and then I was getting scholarships and getting different grants. Um, but for those who just don't really know where to start, I would simply just get a piece of plastilina or clay, play around, like figure out what you like. Do you want to mix, or do you prefer something more abstract? If it's more about figures, then of course just study nature and invite friends to make portraits of them, and then send your pictures to some, I don't know, Facebook groups, get the feedback, like get people to know people, because the art world is actually,
Connection.
exactly, but the art world is actually very small. And if you are talented, sooner or later, everybody's gonna know you, and we all know each other. It's just
Of course.
crazy. Go to some, okay, we don't have
I
time.
have to wrap it up. So, did you like our conversation?
Yeah, that's right. Am I? What?
Did you like the conversation?
Did I like the conversation? Yeah, I very much enjoyed it. It was fun.
Thank you very much. It was really, I really enjoyed and I've learned a lot actually whilst you were showing you were giving us a tour. So I have to wrap it up. And do you want to say goodbye to those who are watching you? They keep sending you hearts and you know.
Yeah, guys, for watching. I really appreciate it. I really hope that all of you are staying well and healthy and safe. And I'm very glad that you have chosen to spend your quarantine days watching such art interviews. I think it's very important that we appreciate art and culture, especially now, because it's really helping us. The beauty will win after all.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy. Please look after yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.
See you soon. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. Thank you. It was my pleasure. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye. Thank you very much for watching us. I was talking to Alexandra Slava from Germany, and she's a Ukrainian artist. If you want to find out more about her, go to her page. Sorry, I have no more time. I have to wrap it up. Take care, love you, and thank you very much for all your great feedback. Have a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye.